how to let your goals grab your subconscious steering wheel. Sounds crazy, right? So I read this book called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it talks about basically how your brain is a goal-striving mechanism. So basically, if you do what I'm about to share with you in this video correctly, like your subconscious mind will steer you towards the life, towards the end goals that you actually want. All right, so it's crazy. So think of it like this. Like here's an example. So as simple as like trying to grab like a coffee mug, for example, on a table when it's dark. All right, it's dark. You're trying to grab this coffee mug, and so what happens? Your hand will slowly search for the coffee mug, kind of like reaching on the table. I find some glasses, so these aren't the coffee mug, obviously, and all this is feedback to my brain. And so it searches. Every time my hand moves to a different part, it feels the table, it feels something else, it feels the coffee mug. It's all feedback to achieve the goal of picking up and finding the coffee mug. All right, so you can apply this to any goal, all right, where your brain will basically search in the dark until it finds a goal. So let's break these out. There's three steps you need to take to actually like make this reality, to actually let your subconscious steer you towards the life that you actually want. So first thing, most people don't even do this, is to determine the goal, or determine what is the actual end goal. All right. And you want to get as concrete, as specific as possible when you're doing this. All right, don't make it general. Don't just make it, I want to be rich. I want to sign clients. Make it as exact and specific as possible. All right, what is the actual real goal? So for me, for example, mine is to achieve a certain freedom number, so my family will never have to think about money ever again. So I have a number in my mind in terms of assets that I have to own in order to never have to worry about money again. All right, for myself, for my wife, or all of our future kids, for everything that we ever want to do. So that's one of the goals that comes to mind for me. And with this goal that you're thinking of right now, you must also be deeply driven to actually make this happen. All right, so for me, I'm deeply driven to provide for my family and have absolute freedom in our life. Like, it's something I need to make happen. I need to, and I will. So for you, it can't just be a nice to have, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I've spoken to people who say they want to start a business, or they want to do XYZ thing, but they're just not serious about it. It's more of a nice to have. Like, oh yeah, like that would be nice. Like, it'd be nice to be able to take XYZ trip, to travel more. It'd be nice to do this, but they aren't serious about it. Like, they're not committed. Like, they don't actually care that much. It's a nice to have. It's more of just a status thing of them saying like a cool goal out loud, and they get dopamine from just saying it out loud, but they're not like actually serious about it. So for you, like, you must actually be serious about your goal. You must be deeply driven to achieve it. If not, nothing in this is going to work. All right, because I could say, I want to become, like, it'd be nice to be like a good ice skater. I don't know, it'd be nice. It'd be cool. That way when I hit the ice rink, once every other year, I could do cool skate tricks or whatever. That's a nice to have for me. Like, I don't really care about that goal. If I could snap my fingers and magically have that skill set, cool. I mean, I wouldn't oppose it. Like, I wouldn't be mad about it. And so that's just a nice to have. All right. Your goal can't be a nice to have. It must be a must have. It must be like deeply driven for you to achieve. That's number one. So determine your goal. Write that down exactly, precisely. What's your goal exactly? And you must have deep drivers to make this happen. Number two is inputs. All right, inputs. So I was watching an old Sam Ovens video the other day, and he's talking about the show Chef's Kitchen. All right, basically what he was trying to do, he was trying to basically figure out, hey, what makes some chefs so great and some chefs really bad? They make really crappy food. All right, well, what is the difference? And so, a lot of people will think like this is going to be, it's going to be their certain method or process that they use, a certain way they cook the food, like a slow cooking it, or using like this, or whatever it is, certain tools maybe, certain industrial grade ovens, or I don't know, something like that, right? A lot of people think this, but the reality was that the difference was something that you wouldn't guess. It was actually the ingredients they use. All right, that's the difference. That's the biggest difference by far between chefs that aren't good and chefs that are amazing, great, is the ingredients they use. If they use world-class ingredients, the food will taste amazing. Interesting. So the thing is, what does that mean? Like, that is inputs. Inputs equals outputs. All right. So it's the same thing in business and toward achieving your goals. If you want to achieve the outputs, you need great inputs. Or you can look at really anyone who's successful, like any single person who's successful, whether it's in business, in sports, and whatever. they all had mentors, people they learned from, that gave them great inputs, great information for them, their brain to consume so they can make better decisions, take better actions, and get better constantly. All right, so I have lots of mentors I've learned from. All right, and I've learned so much from them. If I didn't have them, which when I started my journey, I remember when I was just getting started my first coaching business, I didn't have any mentors really, and I was just trying to do it all trial and error. And this led to me 16 months of making $0 profit, me trying to figure it all out on my own. All right, that's because my inputs weren't very good. All right, bad inputs equals bad outputs. All right, so that's what you need here. You need better inputs. All right, like literally anyone in history as well. All right, Isaac Newton, Benjamin Franklin, anyone. They all had mentors. They all had people they learned from, books they read that get them great inputs, which is great outputs. All right, that is how it works. All right, so really design your life around great inputs. All right. Like one thing I'm always like, I try and be intentional with it. I notice there's seasons in my life where I fall off of this and the results tend to match is when I'm not like actively Kaizening every day. So Kaizen is basically a Japanese term for continuous improvement. What I do for this, I basically, spend 30 minutes to an hour every day, sometimes more. And I'll basically just try to intentionally consume something that I'm trying to skill up. Some content, some course material, maybe something I paid for. I'll be very intentional with this. For example, if I'm trying to learn paid ads, for example, I would intentionally consume a lot of content from obviously mentors in this who have done very well in that skill set. And I would just basically consume this, a continuous improvement. All right, Kaizen. And so I would highly encourage you to take on that practice. It completely changed my life. So inputs equals outputs. That's number 2. Number 3 is massive volume. All right, massive volume. So think back to searching the dark for the mug example. All right, so the more feedback that your brain gets, the more that your hand searches around, it feels the table, feels the glasses, it's feedback. All right, so my brain will learn more and more. If I'm searching on this side of the table over here, the mug isn't over here, my brain like sees it as feedback, like, okay, well, let's not search over here. We already tried that. That's feedback of, hey, the end goal's not there. All right, so it'll change action. All right, feedback forces you to change action based on what the feedback is. All right, so the same thing applies in business. All right, so if you do massive lead generation activities with tons of volume, or you're creating tons of content, maybe you're doing tons of outbound, you're running a lot of paid ads, you're doing a ton of this stuff. The more volume you have, the more feedback you have. That feedback gives you what you need to make more iterations, all right? Create more variations of what you're doing, do different actions. And this will lead to faster results. All right, so the more I search the table with my hand, the more feedback I have to have a higher and higher likelihood of finding the mug, finding the end goal. Same thing applies in business. So that's why you want to do massive volume. The more volume you do, more feedback you get, more iterations you can make, faster results you'll get. It's a loop. All right, it's a loop. And so if you do these 3 things, your brain becomes a goal-striving mechanism. All right, you'll let your subconscious steer you towards the life that you want. Like that's literally how it works. Like I look back, when I was like 18, 19 years old, I had this vision, this goals of being a business owner, having this financial freedom and all this stuff. And I've greatly overachieved in what I even thought was possible at that time. And like, it's crazy how this stuff works. It's crazy. Like literally do these 3 things, it will change your life. All right, so number 1, determine the goal, like get very concrete with this, be very specific. Number 2, really design your inputs carefully so that you have great inputs that actually will serve you towards the outputs that you want. And then number 3, do massive volume. All right, the more volume you do, the more feedback you get, the faster feedback cycles you get towards getting amazing results and the actual outputs that you want. So those are the 3 things. Do this, it will transform your life and your business. All right, that's the video. If you're an online coach, you want to grow your business, add 10, 20, 30K a month to your business, go ahead and click the link below. I have an offer for you. Breaks down how I work with you one-on-one, the pricing, the details, all that is linked below. So click that link if you're interested. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.